Go ahead. Go ahead.
Slide?
Yeah.
Great. So I'm going to start off with the things to be read at every meeting, but first I'm going to speak about the general laws as said by the prophet. Instructions of Tuesday night.
Sorry. This is loud.
That's loud.
Mm-hmm.
The other one's on.
Mm-hmm.
Instructions of Tuesday night. You see what happened today, don't you? Every temple and head is to function by words, deeds, and actions imitating the prophet, especially when teaching a group of Moors, any group of Moors. These are the general laws. The supreme laws will be handed to you tomorrow night. The Supreme Council will be chosen tomorrow, consisting of 7 men, tried and true, accepted by you according to their words, works, and deeds. The head of all temples are to give an account once a month of all finances into the grand body, and the grand sheikhs, governor, and grand governor of any said temple are to work hand in hand to intercede that the prophet is the law. They are to know that they are part of the law and must obey. The heads of all temples are to by force refrain from all wrath words, profanity in the mildest form from his members. They must live the life of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and refrain from all alcoholic liquors or any other harmful thing that will terminate to destroy peace or any of the other divine principles. They are not to contribute to anything that will cause the public to disagree with he or she. And for one to lead a group of Moors, you must keep your house clean. Clean with good deeds, kind words. Your wives' brothers must hear of your good words, kind words, and must know of your good deeds. If there are children, you must see to their support. Follow this divine principle, for if you don't restrict to this divine principle, then you are not a true Moor. And the heads are not to charge for membership, or to overcharge for cards, buttons, or for anything issued by the prophet. Those who contribute to either of the proceedings are not Moors, but robbers. Membership, sister and brother, is free, not only here, but all over the world. The button is 25 cents, card 25 cents, and 1 month's dues is paid. So dues and membership are two different things. Every member must pay 50 cents a month for dues. This money goes towards the support of the temple, so to keep this place running. This, if not paid, does not entitle you to the protection that is provided for you, and especially if you are not working or in the position to work. If you neglect to fulfill the small duty assigned you, how can you rightfully expect money or other help when you are sick or otherwise disabled? And to be a real Moorish leader, you must study the Quran and the divine constitution that is handed down onto you by I, the prophet. The head of any temple can maintain an emergency fund which cannot exceed the amount of from 25 cents to 50 cents a week per member. All public collections and dues also go to the support of the temple and its domestic work.
Thank you.
The head of every temple must, by law, obey the word of the prophet, and if any head, leader, or head of any temple fails to obey these laws, embezzlement is his charge, and is subject to enforcement of the law by the grand body, and the penalty may be a fine or removal from office, or being placed under a very heavy restriction of the law. The supreme words of the prophet, Nabi Ali. So, you need to participate in your own salvation, right? If you don't know something, help support someone who does know more than you. Study from them and help them help you, right? I'm just going to read this part again. If you neglect to fulfill the small duty assigned to you, how can you rightfully expect money or other help when you are sick or otherwise disabled? Because there's a lot of Moors that come to the temple once in 2 years, and then as soon as something bad happens, who they calling? But
Ghostbusters.
they don't even support the program established to help free them and or support them, right? So when the prophet said those names and principles that delude to slavery, that is a principle that deludes to slavery. If, you know, your neighbor's a farmer, and you know they're feeding the whole community, and you see they need help on the farmland, and you're not working, it would behoove you to go help that farmer so you can continue to feed the community and feed yourself, right? That's just common sense. To be read at every meeting, caveat emptor. Moors are men, upright, independent, and fearless, who care for their loved ones and follow the prophet through a destiny which is not uncertain nor unknown. They are fortified by the impregnable doctrine built upon love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. It is therefore folly at its greatest height for smelly culprits with insidious plans to invade such a realm. They try and try, but their own bad planning brings down wrath upon their heads like the sword old Damocles had. Intrigue and scurrilous cunning find a difficult path to travel within the ranks of the Moors. This is so because the Moorish movement has been well planned by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, whose latent powers are abundant, unknown, and may be called into action as a matter of defense at any moment. Prophet Noble Drew Ali knows of people within his ranks who are interested. They are the vanguard of the Moorish movement as the Moorish hordes increase here in America. All of the Moors are active, not passive. A member's interest can only be in one direction, and having traveled over the roads years before, the Prophet knows that every member is along the road. A few feet below is another road where schemers work, where traitors grin, and culprits bask in the sun. They think they're on the same road with true Moors, but the Moors are high above on the pinnacle where they might view the destructionists as they fall for the last time and their bones bleach in the sultry midday sun. Hungry scavengers flying high, devour, catch scent, leave crying out, caveat emptor, cast out the dead carcass. The Moors high above see these plotters, purveyors, the worst that exist, hurl themselves downward by their own works as the hawks wait. Poetry. To be proclaimed at every meeting. I'm glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they're working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so that they may take charge of the situation. I've notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present so I can shove aside the discord that's facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. This is the instructions from your prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is on now, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Drew Ali. And that's why many hearts have been turned to stone. Many have eyes to see but cannot see, ears to hear but cannot hear, least they will be confounded of their sins. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they're trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah, in the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, or sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace. Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet, Noble Drew Ali, and if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from the sinful ways. Peace, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So now, all the stuff that we're suffering from stems from this. The Spanish Inquisition was instituted by King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. They united their kingdoms of Aragon and Castile and formed Spain.
Do you know which one had which?
What?
Do you know which one had which?
No, I don't remember off the top of my head.
Aragon and Castile.
Before it was called Spain, this is European rule. Before it was called Spain, it was called Al-Andalus. Al-Andalusia. Right. The Spanish Inquisition is a continuation The Inquisition is a continuation of the Crusades against the Moors. Now, during the 7th to the 19th century, you have something called the Barbary slave trade.
Peace.
Right? So from the 7th to the 19th century, you have something called the Barbary slave trade. The Barbary slave trade was when Moors were trafficking Europeans. All over the country, or all over the world, really. When you do research on the Barbary slave trade, and there's a book called They Were White and They Were Slaves by Michael Hoffman II. You also have a book, Christian Slaves, Muslim Masters. You'll see that during this time period, over 1 million Europeans were brought to America as slaves. In contemporary times, they'll have you thinking that the Mediterranean is over in the east, between Europe and Africa. All right, that's what they have you thinking that it's called the Mediterranean Sea. The word Mediterranean means Middle Earth, right? Or between Earth. Now, what is another word for Earth?
Terra.
Oh, yeah. Terra means land. So it's really the middle of the land, right? So what's between America and Africa?
Water.
Water. That would be the Mediterranean. They also call that the Middle Passage, right? But they tell you that's when so-called Africans were sent here on ships, right? They'll tell you blacks,
Ellie,
the word black
there's someone downstairs trying to come up. Can you
means
reply me?
pale.
Thank you. Her name is
Slavics
Maggie Magali, I
are
think.
paired. Right, this is where you get the word Albion from, as in albino, right? Because they're not really European. So the Spanish Inquisition and the Crusades were established to help end this. To help end the Moors trafficking Europeans as property. Right? Then when you do research on, as an example, the Knights of Malta, which is based out of so-called Sicily, which when you do research on the Moorish Emirate in Sicily, you'll see that we brought agriculture into Sicily. Just like during the Renaissance period, right? We taught the Europeans how to read, write, bathe, how to farm, stuff like that. So when you do research on, again, the Spanish Inquisition and the Crusades, you'll see that these orders, these knight orders like the Knights of Malta, right, the Knights of Columbus, Knights Templars, these organizations were established by Europeans to help free Europeans from Moorish captivity. When you read the book Moors and Masonry by Abdullah El-Tlemcen Bey, you'll see that these knight orders, these various European orders, would raise finances to either free Europeans from Moorish captivity or fight Moors to free Europeans from Moorish captivity. So when you see this, in the Inca Terra Divina in 1493, after the fall of the Moorish castle in 1492 in Granada, you'll see that the Europeans say they found a new world. Right? So now there's a book called The Discovery of America, an Outgrowth of the Conquest of the Moors. So they're telling you, not directly, indirectly, that the only way they were able to get here was because of the Moors. Right? So we're taught that this ended, and now what we're suffering from is this.
Hold on. Can you guys see? Is there any video coming through? Thank you.
This is
Hold
what
on.
they say we're suffering from.
There's
What?
no video coming through. Should I end it and start a new one?
I never started.
All right, I'm going to end this live and start a new one.
This is what they say we're suffering from.